Democratic messaging is too feminine.
We need to have less, yappy voices and more men talking.
Pete Hegseth was in Germany this week doing squats with 220 on the bar outside for no reason.
You men or something. That's all, you men or something.
A CNN panel slams the Democrat Party for being too feminine. They talk about how Democrats are struggling with young voters, specifically young men, and highlight that the Democrat Party has no masculine men. I mean, they're right, but it's always funny to hear CNN have to actually admit that the Democrat Party sucks. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but we have to start with this Democrat Congresswoman highlighting perfectly why men do not align with the Democrat Party by saying that manufacturing is sexist because it has man in the name.
Yesterday, I met with a manufacturing company, but they also are engaged in getting young people more engaged in manufacturing. So I asked them, so how many of those students that are signing up and want to do this, how many are women? And they said, well, I know there's at least 13% or something. It was a low number. And you had mentioned trying to engage more women in manufacturing. I'm just wondering if just the name manufacturing sounds like a guy.
This is the kind of woke lunacy that ruined the Democrat Party in the first place. And they're surprised that these constant demonizing attacks on men and masculinity are causing men to leave. It's like Democrats paint men to be these vicious, violent, unstable animals. And peak manhood is this feminized, submissive, docile, unconfrontational soy boy. They brought out the least man's man, Tim Walz, to rally men in support of Kamala Harris. They promote manhood as aligning yourself with the plights of radical feminists and looking to your woman for direction and leadership at every turn. And again, they're surprised that men don't want to subscribe to that kind of ideology, especially young men who are ambitious and aspirational. Most guys aren't trying to strive to be the puppy dog walking behind their woman. Now let's get to the CNN panel slamming the Democrats for exactly what I said. Watch.
Those numbers that you just read, it's been happening for 10 years. This has been happening slowly but surely over time. I think that pollster in that clip earlier had said 2 out of 6 moderate men voted for Trump. It was the majority of moderate men voted for Trump. Even over 20% of liberal men voted for Trump. There has been what is seen as I don't want to say a war on masculinity, but there has been this trend in the Democratic Party, or it's at least felt that the left is becoming more and more hostile to the things that are typically men. And you've seen John Fetterman talk about this idea of patronizing, calling them bros, or that ad that looked like a spoof at the end of the race of real men do this. It's like, have you ever talked to a dude in your life? So in James Carville saying, we need to have less yappy voices and more men talking. And there are many men in the Democratic Party,
Democratic messaging is too feminine.
A perfect example of how the Democrats casted aside men was when they made the spokesperson of Bud Light, a traditionally manly man's working class beer, Dylan Mulvaney, a transgender male weirdo. Men are much less likely to want to play around in the Democrats' made-up fairy tale world activity. So when men were told, if you don't believe this and support this and think it's ambitious and brave and real, you're some sort of bigot fascist, guys were like, call me whatever you want, I just know I don't support this. And to his point about squeaky voices, let's listen to the newly elected vice chair of the DNC give a rallying call to the crowd, and you let me know if you're inspired after this.
Who's ready to take the fight to the Republicans and win this thing? Are you guys ready to fight? It's been a long day, but guess what? We have a long road ahead. Let's go and kick some ass. Let's go win our young people back, and let's stop sending just our thoughts and prayers to address gun violence and do something. Are you ready to do that? Because together, we can make school shooter drills history and not headlines. Are you ready to do that? Together, we can address the housing crisis and so many other issues of our time that are affecting our young people. Because tonight, Malcolm and I won with your support. Thank you so much. You guys rock, and thank you again to Jamie. Thank you to Justin. Give a round of applause to Justin Pearson. And all my friends in the young Dems, the college Dems, the high school Dems. I love you guys so much. I could go on and on. Let's go party.
It's like all the wimpy men who hate traditional masculinity because it makes them feel excluded and feel bad about themselves all find safe haven in the Democrat Party, where they're told and patted on their head, no, it's okay, masculinity is whatever you want it to be. They refuse to admit that men and women are different, and that's evident in their radical gender ideology, but they refuse to accept that men are more physical, we're more brutish. We like sports, we like UFC, we like shooting guns, we like fast cars, we like violent video games. And there's nothing wrong with that, but Democrats insist the peak version of a man is something that basically resembles a woman. Now, they talk about Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who was in Germany for a NATO meeting and actually did workouts with the soldiers, saying this is why men like the Republican Party. Watch.
It is true that Democrats have a problem, especially with young men. I mean, that is a real fact.
So to me, that in a way it validates what Clay Travis is talking about, because if you're trying to get young men, you're not going to get them on all policy points and all the. No, Joe Rogan knows karate, and sometimes he talk about drugs. That's good enough for me. Pete Hegseth was in Germany this week doing squats with like 220 on the bar outside for no reason. That's what the Democrat. I'm being silly, but
and you know what?
serious.
One of the other points that Clay Travis made, and I think this is true. We saw this in real time when Trump had the assassination attempt in Butler. That image of him raising his fist and saying "fight, fight, fight" was like a shot of testosterone in the arms of a lot of men. Mark Zuckerberg was like, "Oh my God." He's so cool.
And
now look at where we are politically with some of these very people really turning politically toward Trump.
Yes, as much as the Democrats hate it, there's a reason that the term a man's man exists, because men respect and gravitate towards a strong leader. And obviously Trump is old, he's not like a shredded gym bro, but the fact that Trump took a bullet to the face, stood up, raised his hand, and yelled fight shows a level of bravery and courage that all men respect. Guys like Joe Rogan, because his podcast emulates the conversations that we have when we're getting together for drinks. History, conspiracy theories, do aliens exist? Sports, politics. Pete Hegseth hitting deadlifts in the snow with soldiers is badass. It's like they're so surprised that guys like guy stuff. And that couldn't be more evident as Carrie Champion chimes in and scoffs, "Ugh, you men are just something else."
What do you think is the masculinity that they are attracted to in Trump?
I'm laughing because I just, no disrespect to you lovely men on this panel.
We do have
but you men are something. That's all, you know. You men are something. And I can see the appeal of Donald Trump being a very strong masculine man, and I can see him winning over men, because I do agree the Democratic Party, for all intent and purpose, felt like a place for the others, and they tried to take on every issue that the Republicans didn't want. If you want to talk about trans, come here. If you want to talk about LGBTQIA, come here. If you want to talk about men and women, you know, in sports, come here. There were all of these things that I felt men wanted to say felt emasculating. It felt like, I'm not with that. I don't believe in that. And I'm going to go over here because they're saying what I'm thinking.
And the abortion issue played a role in that. I mean, I think they did a political calculation.
And I think no one cared about abortion.
The big thing.
I think no one cared about it.
The Democrats made themselves about these sorry, sappy, weird, crybaby issues and told men what we call masculinity over here is standing up and fighting for the rights of teenagers to be able to take puberty blockers. Republicans told men, we appreciate strong, hardworking men who want to provide for their families, and we're going to help give you an economy that'll allow you to do so. They told men, we want to lower crime, give you safe streets for your family to enjoy. They told men, we want to protect your kids and stop their teachers from talking to them about sex and encouraging them to switch genders. So obviously the men picked the clear rational choice, and then the Democrat response was to call them a misogynist if they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. It's like you have to stop and hold your breath for a second when CNN gives these occasional blips of common sense. And you get worried for a second, are the Democrats gonna figure it out? But then you're reassured by people like that Congresswoman who are still hell-bent on following the woke playbook and calling words like manufacturing sexist because they're not more inclusive. And I'm reminded that our opposition is a lost cause, and the Republicans have this in the bag for quite a while. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video, and I will see you guys in the next one.